to me, I just sit there and I'm like, isn't it incredible that I can put water on the soil and I get CO2 from the air and I get this peach? Good sunlight, good water, good air. And it's just amazing that I get this juicy peach. And I just marvel at how lucky we are that we even get to have sweet fruit and savory vegetables that just come from the earth. And I think appreciating that is the first step getting you into conservation. Being grateful for what the Lord has provided, you're on your way to wanting to conserve it and to make sure that you get the best that you can get out of this earth.
Welcome to Holy Earth, where we talk about faith and earth stewardship. I'm Lydia.
And I'm Phil. How are you, Lydia?
I'm doing great. Just enjoying the warm weather. How are you?
I'm good. I am in beautiful Glenwood Springs, Colorado today, as you can see in this Airbnb
Nice.
China shop behind me.
Yeah,
At the
nice.
confluence of the Roaring Fork and Colorado rivers. It's been really lovely. Went up to Glenwood Caverns, and there's a very famous Glenwood Springs resort here where they have the Yampa Springs, and this is traditional Ute land, actually. So the Utes,
Oh,
they went all over the place out here in Utah and Colorado, and this was that area. And Yampa, I think, is their word for big medicine, something like that.
oh,
Healing
interesting.
waters, it's great. The theme, I was just at the resort with my family, and there's these natural spring waters, all these different pools, and they all have the traditional names of what they thought the purpose of those springs were. It's really great.
That's
So
super cool.
it's been a good time, feeling very nice and immersed in nature and on wonder. It's good. And another fun fact is that you can, on the California Zephyr, stop here in Glenwood Springs. It's an Amtrak that goes from Chicago to San Francisco. And the way that you know that is if you subscribe to the local magazine that tells you. And I was
Wow.
just thinking, man, the knowledge you get when you're a subscriber to something like that.
Mhm.
And I couldn't help but think people do get that extra knowledge and enrichment when they subscribe to this show as well as
That's so
listen to it.
true. Yeah, dabbling is good, but subscribing really unlocks the treasure chest of knowledge. So,
That's right. So please, if you have not yet already, subscribe, give us comments, reviews. We always love hearing from our new friends in the podcast.
yeah, and if you're a fan of our podcast, consider entering the Latter-day Saint Earth Stewardship Art and Writing Contest that's happening this year for our fall forum. The deadline for submissions is September 19th, so we still have a little bit of time. The theme this year is Every Good Tree. Such a good theme. Can't wait to see the things that people create. So selected entries will be featured at our fall forum, on our blog, in our newsletter and social media, and on the Our Trees website and the Tree Note podcast, both produced by National Geographic explorer Nalini Ned Carney. We also have cash prizes, so send us your entries and we'll have more information about that in the show notes.
So looking forward to it. This episode's going to be great. We're talking to the Tagge family, which you have some history with, Lydia. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
They're owners and operators of Tagge Farms in Perry, Utah, and we're going to talk about farming, faith, earth stewardship, and that is the fun fact, is that you know them because you worked at the farm stand. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, so actually, Thayne was my bishop growing up, like maybe 20 years ago. And yeah, I worked at some of their farm stands a few different summers, and it was always so fun putting the peaches and the cherries and the melons in my car and going and arranging them in the stands and just getting to hang out with fruit all day was so cool. So I love the Taggies. Lots of respect and love.
Oh, I can't wait to talk with them and with you about that and those experiences. But before we do that, we're going to turn to Alexa Ross Kelly, the media coordinator for Latter-day Saint Earth Stewardship, and she is going to give us this week's stewardship story. Hey, Alexa.
Hello, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you.
Good.
That's
Thanks for
good.
coming on. What do you have for us today?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm so excited to share a little bit about an initiative that we've taken on here at Latter day Saint Earth Stewardship. As Latter day Saints, stewardship isn't just about protecting nature, it's about caring for people too. And I think there's kind of been a demographic here in Utah that has been posed as a villain a little bit as far as water conservation, and that's agriculture. Here in Utah, many of us know that we are dying for water, and agriculture is a huge industry here, and so many see it as, oh, they're the culprits, they're the ones taking all the water. And we wanted to switch that narrative and just show everyday farmers, everyday people. These are Latter-day Saints themselves, and show that they're actually the heroes in this story. So I personally have had the opportunity to speak with some amazing farmers and hear their wonderful stories of perseverance and ancestry. A few I've spoken with a powerful woman who is taking over her family's fourth generation legacy farm and turning it into something that sustains her family. I met with a young man down in southern Utah who he's also kind of learning the trade, and he has such a positive outlook for agriculture, and he's so ready and so hyped. I also recently just met with a gentleman who he is an agricultural teacher at a high school, but he also has a herd of cattle that feed along the Great Salt Lake, and they eat Phragmites, which is an invasive species, and we don't like them here. And then I've also met with the Taggies, who we'll hear from more, and they're amazing. And it's just so beautiful to see their stories. They all just have so much gratitude for nature and what our Heavenly Father has blessed us with on this earth. Our spotlight on water heroes is coming at a time when just recently the Utah area presidency of the church are asking members to conserve water. They're saying this is needed. We need to be working more and sacrificing more. They said, and I quote, "We ask all members in Utah, particularly those in communities surrounding the Great Salt Lake, to carefully consider personal ways to conserve valuable water resources." So urbanites, suburbanites, and farmers, all alike, we are the ones to solve this problem, and we can do it together. I know that we can. And just to wrap up, I just wanted to share another quote from the Utah Area Presidency letter. And they say, this is really, really important, and I really hope people understand this. This is not a political issue. It's not. They say it's a stewardship issue. We have a sacred responsibility to take care of what our Heavenly Father has given us.
So beautiful. And I love that emphasis that it's not political. This is something that every single living thing needs. We all need water. And it's so important to be able to have access to local food. And so it makes sense that we do need agriculture in Utah. We do need that self-reliance. And so finding the best ways to do it is the solution rather than villainizing one camp or another. Just continuing to say, well, what is in my stewardship? How can I take responsibility for the resources I do have access to and make sure I'm using those well? So I love that.
And to give context for listeners that are unaware of the reason that any of this sort of villainy or this controversial conversation has been happening is because the Western U.S. is in water crisis. Both the Colorado rivers and the Great Salt Lake and the rivers leading to it are really strained right now with the amount of water needed for all range of things, anything from industry to agriculture to even our regular old drinking water, because out here in the Mountain West, most of our water comes from snowpack. And we had a very, very, very bad snowpack year this last year. And the reason that people have this conversation is because when you look at the measurements of who uses the most water and you look at splits, in the Great Salt Lake Basin in particular is where a lot of this conversation is happening, you see just a raw number that says far and away the vast majority of water used in the Great Salt Lake Basin is from agriculture. And that is true. But there's other stories there. And that is, I think, where what you've been talking about comes in, Alexa. And I'm really excited about this campaign that LDSES has been engaged in, which is that farmers, like anyone else who cares for land, typically have a natural inclination towards stewardship. All of us are imperfect and we don't have perfect knowledge. And sometimes we do things inefficiently, and sometimes laws, as they are, may be incentivizing us to use water inefficiently. And there's all sorts of complex ways that we're looking at that. If you ever want to go revisit that issue, go back to our episode with Ben Abbott, who talked about this in depth with us. We'll talk about it a little bit with the Taggies too, because in our visit to their farm, they were a good example of people trying to be really ahead of the curve to not only use water better, but use water in a way that's most effective for growing crops that keep our food system secure. So I really appreciate you coming on and giving that context to us, Alexa, and reminding us that our leaders now in the church have asked us very directly to be better conservationists of water. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thayne and Cari Tagge bought their first 27-acre orchard farm in Perry, Utah in 1977. Their business has grown over the years, and they are now harvesting a very illustrious 150 acres each summer, which we got to go and visit some of that acreage. Their son, Chad, helps manage the farm and plans to carry on the family legacy. The Tagges are known for delicious Brigham City peaches, Willard Bay blackberries, sweet corn, tomatoes, and a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. They're famous across the Wasatch Front for their fruit stands and booths at farmers markets, and they're careful stewards of the land, relying on innovative, sustainable farming techniques, some of which we also got to see, and I can't wait to talk about them. Lydia and I had the pleasure of being there, walking the land with Alexa, our media coordinator, and with our producer, Mike, and it was a really, really enriching experience. And also reading that list of the fruits and vegetables, we had some blackberries right off the vine, Willard Bay blackberries, and they were so good. Some of the best I think I've ever had.
And there were so many, and it was just so beautiful to see them there and have Thayne talking about them. It was so fun. So we're really excited to have the Tagges. So we're gonna start with Thayne and Cari. Welcome. Okay, well, first of all, we have so many things we're excited to ask you, but we want to start out just hearing about you guys. How did you meet, and how did you become a couple, and what role did farming play in all of that?
Cari, go ahead. That's your
You want
deal.
me to start? So
Yeah.
we actually met up at a dance at Brighton, a young adult dance. And it went from there. We dated. And then I went to Israel, study abroad with BYU. So I was gone for 6 months. And when I came back, started dating Thayne again. And I'd sold everything I owned to go to Israel. And I had no money. And so he said, you know what you should do? I'm going to go up to Bear Lake and load up my car with Bear Lake raspberries and bring them down to Salt Lake and sell. And you can do the same thing, but I'm not going to help you. So I would go up every night to Bear Lake and sleep in my mom's brown station wagon with the side paneling. And I'd sleep in the field because I wasn't a morning person. So I wanted to sleep over, and then I'd just wake up when the pickers came. And Thayne would drive up every morning with his dad's truck and load up raspberries. And I would go down to Holiday. That was my first stand. It used to be a 7-Eleven in Holiday. And I'd put banner paper on the side of my car and spray paint Bear Lake raspberries. And I'd walk up and down the street holding a flat of raspberries, selling them. And Thayne would load up his truck and go to Sugar House over on the corner of 21st and 13th. And he would sell. And guess who would always sell out first? Me.
Oh, for
And so I would sell out first,
you.
and I would drive by and mock him and say, I'm done.
That makes sense to me. You know, you're an amazing saleswoman, so
It was
not
fun.
surprised at all about that.
Really fun. And we did that while we were dating. And then after we got married, we continued with that.
Well, the rest of the story was we had a lady customer that wanted some famous Brigham City peaches. So I went down the Logan Way, grabbed about 10 peaches and brought them to her. And then the next day she said, hey, I need 10 more because all my friends want to buy 'em. And so we started doing that every day. And one day I asked the farmer, I couldn't get any Brigham City peaches. And I literally just asked the farmer I was buying them from, Paul Samita, bless his heart. And I go, I need to buy your orchard because I can't get any peaches. And he paused and he said, well, I'm selling it this fall. And I go, well, I don't know how to farm peaches. Will you teach me? And he goes, yeah. And I go, will you carry me on a contract? And he goes, yeah. I'll give you 50,000 down, and will you do it? And he goes, yeah. So I took off the whole day. We kind of arranged the deal, and that's how it all started. That's where we bought our first parcel up here. It's 1997, not 1977. So that's when we got going. And since then we've added how many parcels? 6. So we've got 6 more parcels. It's hard to get the land up here, but those who want to keep it into farming are willing to work with us. So that's a little bit how the farm got going up here.
Well, and the beauty of it is we did Bear Lake raspberries for 15 years, and it was only a 3 to 4 week season in the summer. So I was able to raise all 4 children. Laci was 5 when we bought our first orchard. So I was able to be mom, plus teach them how to sell and do the fun summers. And we already did establish 6 fruit stands just for Bear Lake raspberries. But when we bought the farm from Paul, he said, I don't know how to farm. And Paul said, I will help you for 1 year and teach you everything about farming that you need to know. So I always say Thayne went from the worst farmer in Utah to one of probably the top 5 farmers in Utah.
That's incredible.
It's been fun.
Quite a trajectory. So I want to know a little bit more about this. It sounds almost kind of a happy accident that you got that orchard, but what made you decide to buy a farm and get into the business? It sounds like there was some family there, but was farming always in your family heritages? What made you kind of say
that's a really good question?
Farmers?
I was a CPA. I'm a business guy. You know, I look at it from a business standpoint. Cari and I made more in those 3 weeks than we did the whole year working at KPMG Marwick. So we told her mother that I'm quitting my job and we're going to start this farm and buy it. And so we just really had to learn it from ground one. We had to get a loan. We had to do everything, and it's been a grind. And that's something that's very different and very important to understand. We appreciate what we have a lot more than these second, third generations, and we're in control of our land and we can decide what to do with it. And that's why it works. It's because we're very motivated to expand and grow and be better farmers and add more products. We've got some surprise things coming down the road, and I'm going to tell you about them now. Some really cool fruit items. So we've grown it, you know, from just nothing. And literally at each step of the way, it's been very rewarding, very challenging, but it's been awesome. So,
But we do have some roots up in Ogden and Brigham City. My grandfather is Lauren Farr, that was the first mayor. My mom's Sharon Farr, Farr's Ice Cream. So we have deep roots in Ogden. My grandparents were all born in Brigham City. My grandfather started the Indian school up there, Ross Bowen. So we've got families on my side that very deep rooted up in Ogden, Box Elder County.
So it felt easy to go up there.
It did. I knew about those peaches. I grew up eating Brigham City peaches in Perry, and I knew they were the best in the nation.
That's awesome. So fun. Okay, well, we want to bring on Chad and hear a little bit more about how the farm is managed. So, Cari, we are going to bring you back a little bit later.
Okay.
And let's have Chad come on in. He was hiding there all along. Okay, so yeah, we would love to hear from both of you guys about how the farm is managed. Everyone in the world depends on farms for food, but we don't always, I would say probably most of us have no sense of all the work that goes into managing a farm. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think people really put together where this food comes from. And that's what I think is so incredible when you shop local, is that you know from the farm to your plate. And it just is a lot of work. As a farmer, you are really dependent on the weather. And that's something that we learned really, really well this year, as there was a freeze that happened in mid-April. And so this is the first time we've lost all our crop in 50 years. So I talked to some old-time farmers, and they said, oh, in 1972, there was the last freeze where they actually lost their peaches. So we really are dependent on the weather. And in Utah, being one of the driest states in the U.S., we are really dependent on also the water. And I think people need to realize that it takes a lot of water to grow our crops. And so most of the fruits and vegetables you eat are water. To be able to get that good tasting fruits and vegetables, you need to have a reliable water source to water these plants throughout the year.
So a little bit of the management, if I can. Chad talked about water. We've gone from furrow irrigation, which is letting the water run down both sides of the tree, eroding our soil, everything else, to drip irrigation. We just put in our last, and you guys saw that, our last drip irrigation system in the last 22 acres over there at the pumpkin patch on Laci's land. And that has changed our lives. I used to be up in the field with a flashlight, making sure the water made it down to the ditch. But now we turn it on. We're watering right now, as we sit right now. We're watering how many acres, Chad?
So about 100 acres.
100 acres right now. We are watering as we speak, and we know that every tree and every row is getting water. So that's changed our lives significantly. And Chad's getting as good at it, or even better than I am. And that's just a huge deal, is water management. When Chad says you need a lot of water, now we only give the tree exactly what it needs when it needs it. We do not waste any water. It does not go to down the hill. Every drop is used properly. It's all on compensated drip irrigation, and it's just incredible how beautiful the trees are right now with all that energy going to the tree, which is a good thing because we have a lot of young trees. But those are a couple of management things that have been huge for us.
Yeah, and so right now that's kind of my responsibility as I've come back to the farm, is that I'm really in charge of the water. And so we really want to make sure that we water the right amount. And so with the drip system, we can put it right on the roots and water those trees deep and for those couple days, so that they get all the liquid they need to be able to grow and survive this hot summer.
For listeners that don't know a lot about the location of Tagge Farms, there was some really interesting things that we observed when we were there. that I would love for you to kind of break down for them. And for people that are unfamiliar with the area, you have 15 North, which goes from Mexico to Canada. And as it comes up to this area, Highway 89, it sort of converges right around where the farms are. And then on the west side there, you have Willard Bay, which is a big reservoir, and it is water that feeds eventually into the Great Salt Lake there. And you have their orchards sitting on these slopes that will eventually run down into the area. And so when we were observing the way that you water them now and the way that the drip irrigation works, and then we're describing what was being done before and how you would sort of, these ditches would run downhill and you go and make sure that those ditches are basically getting flooded and having that go down. It was really, really fascinating to see it. But the other thing that you mentioned when we were there, Thayne, was the pristine, specific conditions of that site, why it's so good for peaches.
So that's the thing. You just can't grow tree fruit anywhere. And the orchards that are still in production now are there for a reason. It really is a unique microclimate where these orchards are located to be able to grow good tree fruit. On a hillside, you want to have rocky soil to help maintain that temperature. You want it facing to the west so that you have the late day sun to really heat up the soil prior to the sun setting. And then really in Brigham City, in this Perry Willard area, this little small neck that you talked about, we have this unique microclimate, and it usually is the same with all these orchards that are still existing, that provide those climates that give you just a couple extra degrees during the night so that you don't freeze out. And then also we've got canyon breezes that come down that can help break up the clouds. Because again, with tree fruit, you've got a lot of things you have to worry about throughout the season. You have to worry about early frost. Then you have to worry about windstorms. You want to be secluded by the mountains. And then you also have to worry about the hailstorms. And so I've seen a hailstorm come up and literally kind of break apart and split right around our orchard so we don't get damage to our fruit. Yeah. And so it's just a unique growing place that we have up here. And that's why we cherish this land so well, is because you just can't find locations like this anywhere.
And that's why this is in a legacy trust, because the highest and best use of this land that we are able to be stewards of will remain in an agriculture production. It's not to be used for anything else. And that's our story, and that's what we're holding to, and we're going to make it work. And we're planning the next generations. And this is huge and really important to understand, because this is a big deal. And as the owners, Cari and I, we have thought very, very hard about this and how we're going to make this work. And it's changed over the years. We're just going to use this as a retirement. I could be at a beach in Mexico right now, but it all changed, especially over the last 5 years when we noticed we had some of the best crops in the whole state of Utah. And we realized this has to stay in agriculture. And so that's what we're doing. And Laci and Chad will carry on the tradition, and then we will determine the other heirs from there. And there's a lot. Yeah, it's not fair to the other kids, but they know our vision, and it's not going to ever be fair to any other kids. But it's not necessarily a nice thing to give a farm to a kid, because I'm asking them to kill themselves to keep it going. You know what I mean? So it's kind of more of a burden, or a stewardship burden, not a burden, but it's a real stewardship that needs to be taken very seriously and needs to be managed and needs to be really high priority in everything they do. So
yeah, so this is my third year back. So I actually got my PhD in biomedical engineering at Boston University, and I went and got my job here at BD Medical in Salt Lake. And as I was thinking about it, I didn't want to be able to learn how to farm without my dad here. So 3 years ago, I quit my job, came back to join it, and now I got to work with my dad at the peak of his career to be able to learn everything out, especially where all the pipes are buried and everything, and really get the idea, because I was sitting in my office, my AC office, just typing away at my computer, and I could not let myself be responsible that these trees would be ripped up for homes. We have a unique place here to grow the best peaches that we can grow, and it's just incredible. And so to be able to keep this going, the legacy that my dad and my mom have done is really an honor.
Yeah, I love that you guys have both used the word stewardship a couple times. And I'm curious how your feelings about the earth, or your sense of care for the earth, has grown through your farming. Do you feel like that's increased over the years?
Yeah, absolutely. The orchard is incredible. And I don't think people realize that the fruit you get in the grocery store has been picked. It's not at its peak ripeness. right? It's been transported into a cooler, into a distribution center, into a grocery store to you. I get the opportunity to walk through this orchard, and it's incredible. And I wish we had a crop this year, because then you could experience it. But when the wind is low, so like 3 miles per hour, and you walk in this peach orchard, the aroma is just incredible. And you can smell the peaches coming off. When you walk down and you go through the tomato plants, I just love to just reach down and just touch the stalk, because you can then smell the tomato on your fingers. And then the best part is you get these fresh cantaloupes. Like, we put it in the cooler, and all of a sudden the whole cooler smells like cantaloupes. The aroma of farming with fresh fruit is just incredible. And as I've read my scriptures, there's a whole section in D&C 59, and it says, "Yea, all these things which come of the earth in the season thereof are made for the benefit and use of man, both to please the eye and to gladden the heart. Yea, for food and raiment, for taste and for smell, to strengthen the body and to enliven the soul." And I'm telling you, that scripture hits me every single day. I get to have my soul just enlivened by the glorious things that we get to grow from the earth. And it's a spiritual experience. And I think that's what people get to have when they taste really good fruit.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's something interesting. Our fruit doesn't make it any further than 60 miles from our farm, except the people that come to our stand and take it out. That's kind of, to me, the 100-mile rule, 60-mile rule. People need to understand, where am I going to get the best produce? Well, it's got to be within 60 miles of your home. And that's what we're doing. And if people would understand that a little bit better, their quality of eating fruits and vegetables would definitely increase.
So before we move on too far past all of the changes that you guys have made, I just want to dig into that a little bit more, because we got to see it in person, Phil and I, and it was so incredible to see. I'm sure there were so many different factors that led you to make those changes. I think the number you said was you've reduced your water use down to 20% of what you were using before. Is that right?
So I only use 1/3 of my water rights out of Pineview. The other is now sent to the Great Salt Lake. And that's just kind of what's nice about this drip irrigation, is it really does consume a lot less water. And so, yeah, we have a lot of water rights all over the place. We've got them out of all the canyons. But our main source from Pineview, we can get the water pressurized from Pineview when it comes out of the ditch, clear on the top of the hill. So we're just using the laws of nature to water and pressurize and run all that. We don't even need anything. We have that pump you saw down at Pumpkin Field, but because that's lower level. But everything is just ran through engineering and God's laws. So it's kind of cool how all that works.
Yeah, I mean, we don't use any electricity to water the majority of our fields. It's all gravity fed because of the canal being high and on the hillside that we're on. And even then, even the whole canal, there's no pumps. It's completely gravity fed all the way down here to Brigham City, Perry, Willard, where we're able to then use that water into our crops.
And it's all engineered. When we put in the drip systems, they handed me a book, and they've done all the pressure compensation, wherever we need to do a pressure reducing station. They've calculated the thickness of the pipe and how far it's going to run, and the gallons per minute and all these things. And it's just magical how it all comes together.
Yeah. So I was talking with a friend this morning about the Great Salt Lake, and she brought up, agriculture. And I said, Tagge's, they're doing this really cool thing. And so we had the conversation of, okay, if we know that this can be done, why aren't more farmers doing it? And I told her, all I know for sure is you talked about just how much work it is, and not just physical labor, but also you kind of had to figure out how to make it all work. So I'm just curious to hear more about that process of implementation and how you think other farmers could, what makes it hard? Why haven't more farmers done it, and how could we make it so other farmers?
Well, it's changing a lot. It's happening.
Yeah. So again, there's government grants through the USDA and the Farm Service Agency that is specifically tailored to conservation, right? And so that's the grant my dad got to be able to put in the drip system. And so,
and how long ago? That was probably
20 years ago.
20 years ago, we got our first grant.
And so again, they help design it. They help provide the funding, and then it really is just implementation. And so, at least the funding is on a need basis. You do have to apply, But then once you get that funding, they really do help you through the steps. But there's technical challenges that come out. I mean, we always, at the beginning of the season, we're fixing at least 3 to 4 or 5, maybe 6 pipes. We have to make sure everything is winterized well. There's a lot of know-how on your system that you have to learn about.
Yeah.
But
So
it's all about based on needs. So
yeah.
they grade you on how much water you can save by doing these grants, and then they'll prioritize those farms. And so as our farm gets converted, then that frees up next year's money to be able to then go to the next farm.
So here's how it kind of went down. I told Ralph Nelson, who's passed, Fred Barker, all these guys, I'm going to put in a drip irrigation system, and they shook their heads. And so I was the guinea pig. They watched me do it. They gave me 2 years, and then they're all running in there, getting signed up. And so now I'm on call 24/7 to handle anybody question. Hey, my filter won't backflush. Hey, I don't know why I'm not getting enough head pressure. Hey, what's wrong with this solenoid? And so Chad and I troubleshoot every farmer. I help put 3 of them in, and with these other guys, or even more. And so we've kind of been the on-call people that anybody wants to troubleshoot something. We're really good at it now. We can answer really any question. It's just a matter of troubleshooting and what's wrong. And so we're doing that a lot.
Yeah.
And that's the reason Chad got his farm. He just bought his first farm because the husband died and she was struggling to run her system. And it's a difficult system. We feel like it wasn't engineered quite right.
Yeah.
But he's got it totally under control now, and his trees look gorgeous. So
That's right. Yeah. So there's a lot of learning curves and a lot of troubleshooting. I mean, it sometimes I feel like you have to MacGyver to be able to know what's going on. But overall, once it gets working, it saves a ton of water, saves a ton of labor on our part, and is worth those pains.
You know, we've had previous guests who were scientists that told us about the science of when people are trying to enact more sustainable interventions, whether that's in climate, whether it's in farming, anything. One of the biggest tipping points for people is that they can see somebody else doing it, that they care and that they're doing it. And then all of a sudden it can create a domino effect, because then other people want to get into it and they see, and they're not feeling like they're the only ones who might care about something, or that it's even discouraged to do that. You're living that real time, right? You were examples, and then you see other people coming to you. I think that that's really good. I want to drill into something that you said earlier, Chad, when you were mentioning the freeze that we had this year. Whatever name you want to put it, whether it's global weirding, odd weather, climate change, whatever you want to say, it's clear that conditions have been changing and are continuing to change over time. And we're very curious to know what has, as you've had these crazy years, whether it's with water, with the weather, with whatever sort of conditions are happening on site, what are the ways that you've been dealing with that?
If you go down into Utah County, you'll see that they have mitigations to help kind of protect against frost. You'll see they look like windmills, little fans in the fields. Those are actually meant to pull down and pull the hot air from the inversion down to the lower areas. And you don't see any up in Willard Bay area. And the reason why is because we just haven't frozen out since 50 years. And so I think as things kind of change, we'll have to really adapt to any type of measure that there is to really be able to help prevent against that. And so I think really it's about making sure that we use our water well, that we protect the water rights that we've been given, and then also just making sure that people understand we're weather dependent. And as things change and come, some years are going to be better than others, and some years are not going to be great, like this year.
So yeah, one thing these other farmers have done is they bought insurance, and not luckily, but the last 4 years I've seen I call it extreme weather. We started buying up the insurance you can at the Farm Service Agency to the highest level you can. I'm the only one up here that does that. There are more farmers even down south who have more radical weather that have bought even commercial insurance. And we're going to look into that as well. We have deep pockets and we're going to be fine, but that's the main thing I'm thinking of. We're gonna budget some of our revenue into insurance to maintain. We still have a land payment. We weren't given this thing, but Chad just signed his life away on his property. So we've got to make land payments, and we've got to ensure that that'll stick around and do whatever we can to keep it sustainable.
With all of the stuff happening with the Great Salt Lake, I wonder if some people might be thinking, okay, we have so much water going to agriculture. Why don't we just decrease the size of the farms or give up farming completely in Utah? And I know you guys have an answer to that, so I wanted to pose that to you. Why is local farming important?
Well, the big thing, I'll just comment and chat too. The big thing they're talking about out there is alfalfa. When you see somebody with a pivot, they're really trying to conserve water. I'm not an expert on the alfalfa, but it's a huge deal for all of the animals. And I know that that's one of their biggest complaints. If you knew how little water we're using, you would be blown away on what it takes to grow a beautiful peach. You'd just go, okay, that's worth it. But I think there's maybe certain crops that maybe could be looked into. I know that the alfalfa is so important for all the ranchers. And that's a big thing about our state's economy is there's a lot of ranching going on and the cows need to eat. And so that's their main source.
Yeah, so we actually attended a meeting up at the state capitol where we got to meet a lot, because we deal with a lot of, fruit and vegetable farmers. So we were able to meet with a lot of alfalfa farmers. And the thing is I think people don't understand, like, you eat cheese, you drink milk, that's coming from alfalfa. And the best type of crop you can give with the highest nutrients, the highest mineral, the best crop you can give these milk cows is alfalfa. And again, same with tree fruit. You just can't grow alfalfa just willy-nilly anywhere. Utah really does have a unique growing climate where they can get multiple crops of alfalfa in a year where you can't get that anywhere else. And so I think the main thing is that we have to just ask the question, where do you want to get your fruit? My sister who lives down in St. George says, Chad, I go into the grocery store and every one of my fruits and vegetables come from Mexico. And so I think that the opportunity to be able to have these reservoirs built by our ancestors to be able to help us grow fruit here locally and use that is really important, because we learned kind of during COVID, things can really go south really fast. And if you don't have the ability to get stuff close by, you could be in really big trouble. And so I think being able to take a good balanced approach with that, knowing that this water is for good use. I mean, we're not wasting it in even growing alfalfa. I mean, it goes eventually into our body for food. And so I think people just need to make sure they keep that in mind. As noble the cause of the Great Salt Lake is, at the end of the day, we still have to eat.
So this has been really interesting. And I think what we're going to do is now bring on Laci to talk about so Chad, you've told us a little bit about what you're doing to carry on the legacy of the farm and on the management end. And Laci has a few of her own things to talk about. And let's bring her in and say hi to Laci. Are you with us, Laci? Waiting room.
My role is to give those fresh peaches out to the public. So I'm over all the sellers. We have 12 daily fruit stands, and we also go to farmers markets. We attend about 10 a week, just depend on the year. And then the biggest joy is we have a CSA program. It's called Community Supported Agriculture. It's a 15-week subscription to our farm. You commit with us the whole season, and you get what's in season that week. And it changes out throughout the 15 weeks. And it's fresh picked, and it's one of the freshest produce you can get. And the best way to support our farm, it's really easy to access. We have over 80 drop-offs all the way from Logan down to Spanish Fork. And we're at 1,400 subscribers this year. So
Wow.
yeah, it's an amazing program. We also have a lot of amazing add-ons. We partner up with local mushrooms, cheese, eggs, bread, you name it. And honestly, you get to be the VIP of Tagge's farm. We give you all the insights. You get to learn more about what we're doing and all of this. So that is my role. And a lot of people also call me the Peach Queen. If you want to can peaches, you want to know what type of peaches we have, I got you. I can help you out. And I go to a really popular market called Murray Market. It starts at the end of July and it's on Saturdays. That's the best place to come visit us, and I'll get you a box of peaches. Yeah.
So what's your favorite peach to eat?
My favorite is, it's tough. My top would be, I like the O. Henry's. It's one of the very last peaches, but it's kind of fun to eat throughout the season. The July flames kind of come on earlier. They're like a darker orange.
Yeah.
And then we also have a JH Hell and a Suncrest. It's kind of fun to see them all. They come on at different times every 10 days. You just eat what's fresh and what's right. And that's probably be my favorite peach.
Yeah. Hearing all the names is
Right.
taking me back to my
Yeah.
days working at the fruit stands, and I'd sneak a couple samples here and there.
Yeah.
Those are the best days.
Okay, so important questions here, Laci. So Chad and Laci, where do you fall in the order of children in the family?
So I'm
Yeah,
I'm
so
the
I'm
baby.
I'm the oldest. Yeah.
You're the oldest.
The
Okay,
oldest and the
oldest and the
baby.
baby right here. We have the bookends taking on the legacy here. That's good.
That's right.
Perspectives along the timeline there. That's great. Okay, and so how long have you been doing this, Laci? How long have you been in the biz? We know that Chad said
Yeah.
he bringed back about 3 years, or you were away for 3 years and came back, right? Or you've been back for 3 years.
No,
Yeah.
I've been back for 3 years. Yeah, this is my year 3.
So what about you, Laci? How long have you been working for the farms and
Yeah, I honestly can say forever. I started selling at my own fruit stand probably in 7th grade, and then I've always done this. Yeah, I haven't left, and I think I'm here to stay forever. So I did take a little bit of a break. I did go serve a mission, and I also have my degree at the U, and I also am a certified ASL interpreter. So I've done a lot of things, but I've always just been drawn back to Tagge's. I've always just loved having a fresh peach. I love selling. I love interacting with customers, so I just never left. I'm
fantastic?
Yeah,
here.
that's one of
Yeah.
the joys we get to have, is that we get to actually see the people who are going to get to enjoy the fruit we grow. And it's just fun. It's fun to sell when you get to actually sell what you know is great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'd love to hear from maybe Laci and then Chad. What are your guys' vision for the future of the farm? We'd love to hear specifically in terms of like earth stewardship, and then maybe just generally also.
Yeah, my biggest vision is to keep having Brigham City peaches and fresh produce to the public. I think farms need to be around for years to come, and I think everyone deserves to have local farmers buy them. And so that's my vision, is to keep working hard, and I just hope one of my kids will enjoy it as much as I do, and that is the next goal, is making them enjoy it as much as me.
Yeah, I mean, again, right? It's about maintaining this farmland, and to be able to continue to have it be productive. And I think there's a lot of headwinds that we have, and to be able to adapt and to be able to adjust and to be able to put in new technologies and to look at new ways of conservation and to maximize our yields with application, fertilizer, pest control, moving to as best we can to be able to get the best product we can, I think is going to be really my main thing. And I love doing it. And I think that's going to be my main goal as I move forward. I've already tried to tweak the drip system to be able to be more efficient, and we've already got a lot better yields and use of our water on that side. And so really it's about that. And then again, there's nothing about working with your own kids in the farm. And my son today was like, "Hey Dad, we need to go set the bug traps for this beetle that will actually eat the roots of the cherry tree." And so he actually reminded me. I wasn't even on my radar. And he's the one that's telling me, "Hey, we need to go
That's
set the
cute.
trap." So it's fun to be able to work with the next generation and to give them the passion that we have about farming. And then again, they already get the passion when we have our Sunday dinner, and it's BLTs with fresh tomatoes and fresh sourdough bread baked locally with corn and yellow squash and zucchini. And then they ask, "Hey Dad, when's the green beans coming on?" They're already enjoying a lot of the harvest throughout the season.
I love that. I love that so much. You guys probably know, well, I don't know if you know, I was a 2nd grade teacher for 5 years. And I just love seeing how kids really do come ready to love the earth. They come excited, and when you give them delicious things to munch on, it's even easier. So I think that's so fun. Those are beautiful visions.
This has been good. I'm curious to know, of what we've talked about today, is there anything that we haven't that you all think people need to know, either about Tagge Farms or about farming or about stewardship?
So a thought on my mind, right, is that when you're on a farm, you can't really listen to your headphones. You're on the tractor, it's noisy. You kind of just are lost in your own thoughts, right? And it's just, again, farming is incredible. When you get to see from the seed to the plant to the blossom to the fruit to the picking it to then eating it, when you're involved in the whole process, it really is just incredible. And you get a glimpse of that when you're gardening. But when you're doing it at a huge scale, it's gorgeous when you have this huge bounty that you get to harvest. And to me, I just sit there and I'm like, isn't it incredible that I can put water on the soil and I get CO2 from the air and I get this peach? Good sunlight, good water, good air. And it's just amazing that I get this juicy peach. And I just marvel at just how lucky we are that we even get to have sweet fruit and really savory vegetables that really just come from the earth. And I think appreciating that is just the first step getting you into conservation. Being grateful for what the Lord has provided, you're on your way to wanting to conserve it and to make sure that you get the best that you can get out of this earth.
Awesome. Well, I think it's time for us to bring Cari back in so we can.
Got the whole
Uh,
gang.
oh, look at this
We're here.
cute
I love
family.
these guys so much. If you guys knew how hard we've all worked today, you'd
Wow.
be shocked that we're still awake. But
Oh, you're so good to spend this time with us.
nobody loves the earth more than farmers. We are in the dirt every day. We love water. We love the sun. And we see Heavenly Father's hand in everything that we do. And we are grateful every day with what happens. And even the challenging years like this, we know it's our turn and there's always lessons to be learned.
And coming in, you're all three in different locations. I'm wondering, do we have the whole geography of the Tagge operation represented here, like sales office, the farm, and the home front, right?
Basically, yeah.
Yes.
Basically.
And even Laci's husband, Steve, he's taking care of her babies right now, but he speaks fluent Spanish and he's involved as much as all of us. So we love him as well.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have 3 signature questions that we ask all of our guests. And since there are 4 of you, we're going to go round robin with Cari, Thayne, and Chad. And then Laci, you get the benefit of listening to all of them and picking which one of the ones you want to answer. So first up is Chad. What is something our listeners can start doing today that will bless the earth, in your opinion?
Yeah, I've touched about it and I maybe have jumped the gun, but I just think that going to this earth with gratitude, I think is really the first step. And that's where my mind always goes about is just how grateful and how incredible this earth we have and how much we are able to get from it. And then really what you can do to be grateful for what we've been given and then work on what we can do to make it better, I think is really your mind. But it starts from a place of gratitude. And I'll tell you right now, if you want to start getting gratitude of how delicious things are on this earth, eat some local fruits and vegetables and you'll start to realize we are truly blessed that we can get even this stuff right in our home.
Okay, Cari, where was the last place you felt a deep sense of awe and wonder?
So this question was perfect because it really hit home because on March 28th, we went up to take 2 of our artist friends up to our orchard. And I have never seen our orchard so beautiful. It was in full blossom. The sun was shining, the water was flowing on the drip, and the bees were buzzing, and it was so miraculous. And it was Heavenly Father's testimony to me of that his hand is in everything. And it was just so beautiful. And then fast forward to April 15th when we froze out and we were devastated and our family did all the right things. We were praying and fasting and attending the temple and doing all these things. And it still didn't work out. And Thayne said to me, well, it's our turn. It's our lesson. It's what we're going to learn this year. And we have pivoted and we are gung-ho and we're working harder than ever. And I didn't know if we could work harder than we already do, but we are. And everything is awe. I'm so grateful for the customers and the life Thayne and I have led and the connections we've made. I have friends talk to me on the walkie-talkie at our fruit stands and the support out there is just amazing. And I'm grateful for everybody that helps us and supports us.
Such a beautiful answer. Okay, and then Thayne, how has your commitment to earth stewardship brought you closer to God?
Okay, I'm going to focus on this year. Like Chet said, every day is a miracle. I have over 1,000 pictures of just peaches when the truck comes rolling in. And so what we're learning this year is gratitude because you don't really appreciate what you have until it gets taken away. And so that's kind of what we're learning. And we need to learn that. So, some other farmers figured it out 50 years ago, but you don't really appreciate what you have until it's taken away. If it's your wife, if it's your family, if it's your kid, if it's your job, whatever it is, every single one of us has an experience in our life where we've lost something. And we've lost our peaches this year, and it sucks, man. We picked peaches for over 100 days, and I'm on day 97, and every day I wake up and I can't pick a peach, and it sucks. And so therefore, I've committed to be a better steward of the land, to take care of this land a little bit better. I'm still going to do everything I need to do, but there's things we can't control. We have a motto, it's no excuse farming. And we do anything or everything we need to do to make sure we survive. And we're pretty hardcore. And there's, there's, you don't even know what we do. And we are busting it right now because we're going to survive. And I think this is a good test for us and great gratitude for what we do have. And so, like I said, every day is a miracle growing fruit. It's amazing. It's awesome. The favorite time of my day is coming down the hill at sunset and you just go, what? You know what I mean? It doesn't get any better than this. So anyway, those are some thoughts that I've had on this season particularly.
Okay, Laci, which of these spoke to you the most of a question you'd like to answer?
Well, honestly, just as you know, we're a family farm, and I just want to tie it together because our motto is we live our life fruitfully. And honestly, we have to, as a family, come together and we have to be grateful for every day. And we have to wake up again and start over and love each other and keep going. And we do this because we want people to appreciate the earth just as we do, and we want people to enjoy these peaches just like we do. And so it's really amazing as a family that we can connect together and do this together with the help of Heavenly Father.
So beautiful. Goodness, you guys are so inspiring. I'm sure we don't even know half of what you do, like you were saying, but I can tell you guys probably are the hardest workers I know in my entire life. Like, you're incredible. Your fruit is amazing, and we're so excited that you're just pioneers in these water-wise practices, and we're just really grateful for all you do to sustain our communities, and we're so grateful for your testimonies too.
And you were so gracious with your time, both in this episode and in letting us walk the land. And people, for listeners, you will see clips from our trip there over the coming weeks and through the season. Super, super inspiring to be there. And I have to say too, if you're within 1,600-mile radius here, we need to make sure that we're signing up for the CSA. I didn't know you came to Logan, so I'm like, I know what I'm doing tonight. We're going to put that link for people in the show notes to go in case they're interested in getting part of the community-supported agriculture program through Tagge Farms. You are all amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope that we will be back on your farm next year eating some peaches. Well, it's time to bring on Marcia, our producer, to share some listener feedback.
Well, what do you have for us today, Marcia?
I want to share some YouTube comments from our last episode about national parks with Phil Bruick. And if you haven't watched that episode, I recommend you check it out, especially during this summer of America 250. So Phil had a long career with the National Park Service, and many of his former coworkers dropped into the comments to say how much they admire him. I thought that was very sweet and a tribute to his long years of service.
Oh, they blew it up. It was amazing. I love it.
Yeah, there were so many, and I could only hope that maybe someday in the future, my work colleagues would appreciate me even a fraction of that much.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So Dustin Bess said, Phil Bruick is a top 5 influencer in my life and one of the best men I have ever known.
Oh.
Steve Murdoch said, thanks, Phil, for sharing your viewpoints on the national parks and how we relate to the land and how we are stewards of it all. I spent 10 summers of my life working in Grand Teton National Park, and I miss it every day. It was great to see you on TV from a past BYU roommate and mission companion. Ron Siemens said, thank you, my friend, for reminding me where we should all start in the learning process, silence, and contemplation. So he's referring to when Phil was growing up in Zion National Park, an amazing childhood, that his mother would remind him to pay attention to the silence. And that is something that resonated with me because when I go into the desert, the silence is one of the things I cherish about it. And then there were a few other commenters who wanted to clarify what Phil meant by saying that there were more than 400 national parks. For example, Alan Calvert said, there are 63 national parks with that specific declaration. However, when Phil mentioned over 400, he was talking about all the national park units, which included national recreation areas, national monuments, national battlefields, national historic sites, and even more. The National Park Service manages many more units than those just designated as parks. Which I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that clarification.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the comment that said, because there was a little back and forth. Some folks were like, "What? There's 63, of course. The 400 things are part of all these other things, like national seashores and recreation areas." And there was another person that came back and was like, "If you were part of NPS, that was totally interchangeable. You just always said you're in the park and all that." I just was like, "Whoa! If you're an NPS. It's all park to you. And they know so many more things you don't know, in so many more areas you don't know."
Yeah. Well, and it made me that whole idea of the designation bringing people in, like once a place was designated as a national park or just a national monument, how the traffic increased, made me think like, well, how many other areas are there that are just as worth our time? And maybe they just haven't been officially, put in that nice picture frame to say, look at this. But
Yeah.
we don't necessarily need that designation to honor and enjoy some nature. But it is really cool that we do have those protections on those specific places. So
Yeah. And I have to say it too, Marcia, that recently on what you were talking about of listening to the silence, I tried this more directly with my boys recently. And I was thinking to myself at that very moment, "Oh, I wonder if she ever had moments where she had the same tone as me." But it was because, like, those moments when all the kids are all crazy and stuff, right? And like everything's, and so in my mind, I'm like, listen to the silence. Let's just do this, But it was actually really nice. What we did was we sat on the bench on our front porch at sunset, and the sun was going, summertime, it's going down later, but right in front of us is a little wetland that's been preserved in our development, and there's tons and tons of frogs in there. So it's really, really fun because we stopped and I just said, we're just going to take some deep breaths and watch the sun go down and just listen to what's going on here. And I tell you what, they have been hardly going to sleep at all within the first hour that they go down the whole summer, because it's bright and they're excited. But when we did that, it was like a 10-minute exercise. And that night they fell asleep within like 10 minutes.
Whoa,
It's like, wow, there's something to this.
that's cool.
But it was just felt really in sync with the rhythms of nature, hearing the birds, hearing the frogs at sunset, all that stuff. I can't stop thinking about that when he said his mother would just do that, take them into the park and do that. It's awesome.
Uh-huh. That's beautiful.
That's very sweet. I love it.
Yeah.
And your boys will probably someday be telling that story like Phil did.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Hopefully in a fond way.
On a podcast, hopefully.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks for that, Marcia. That was really awesome. It was so great seeing all those comments about Phil. He really seemed to be a super influential figure, and our conversation was influential on me. And I don't know how you feel, Lydia, but it was
Nah.
awesome.
No, it was amazing. I've been thinking about that a lot and talking to friends about it. So grateful that Phil took that time with us. But great. Well, thank you so much, Marcia.
Thank you.
And listeners, we would love to hear from all of you and create a community where we can support each other as Earth stewards. So please reach out to us by commenting on YouTube or by emailing hello@holyearthpodcast.com. If our content resonates with you or you find it useful, please subscribe to our feed on TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at Holy Earth Podcast. If you would like to get involved with Latter-day Saint Earth Stewardship, visit our website at ldsearthstewardship.org and sign up for our newsletter.
And remember that there's open call to submit stewardship stories of your own. If you have a story as simple or complex and sophisticated as can be about your own experiences as a steward, we'd love to hear about it and to highlight it. Holy Earth is brought to you by Latter-day Saint Earth Stewardship, a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to honor God by learning and living Latter-day Saint principles of creation care, and with the support of a generous donation from the Nature Conservancy. Our executive producer is Mike Maxwell, and our producer is Marcia Maxwell. Our theme music was composed and performed by yours truly, Lydia Theobald. Our logo and graphic designer by Annie Peterson, and our social media coordinator is Chloe Mills.